Hello, I'm Eric Lafontaine. I'm publishing and marketing manager at Tribute Games, and I'm considered one of the devs of TMNT Shredder's Revenge. The process of creating TMNT, we didn't have much restrictions, and we didn't have, set boundaries set by either Nickelodeon or dotemu. What happened is that our game designers had sort of a pitch where we started off with the '87 cartoon as kind of our era and our our reference, so everything was based around the '87 cartoon. And we wanted at first to pay homage and to pay tribute, sorry for the bad pun, to the '87 cartoon. Tribute Games set itself its own boundaries, and when we pitched the idea, it was already decided that we were going into that alley. We obviously took some liberties on some details or some artistic visions and but all of that was approved throughout the process. Every art or level art or idea of referencing that boss or referencing that toy from the early '90s. So all of that was done seamlessly. Just they Nickelodeon, dotemu, so the relationship was awesome, and they really got it from the get-go what we wanted to go for. And we were expecting, oh, maybe it's going to be difficult, maybe it's going to be this or that, and in the end it was so cool. It was it's like we worked with these guys since 10 plus years ago. So it was really a nice experience, and there was one thing that we were really, really happy about is how understanding they were about what we wanted to do, and they when somebody gets it, and I'm really glad at Nickelodeon and obviously dotemu, because they know they're retro like us. It was really fun to be on that friendship base where we were pitching ideas and they were like, yeah, that's awesome, let's do it. So we have it's only positive from our end, so that was really a really nice experience for sure. The way Tribute Games designed and sort of balanced all the playing characters was kind of a sort of an easy process in a way, but kind of a hard one also, because we've put a lot of work into all different playable characters. So we wanted to make sure that every character, their personality, from the movies, from the toys, from obviously the '87 cartoon, they had to go and sort of be channeled, and sort of their personality had to be somewhat in some way. It has that, I don't know the word, but it had to transpire through their animation and how they felt, playing just sprites, So it was a lot to compress, and the way we made the choices and how it happened, we for sure started with Leonardo, as the leader, and he's in the past games, he was the more balanced turtle. He had 2 stars, or he was more he was in the middle of everything, for range, for quickness, for power. So he was our baseline. Obviously we started with Leonardo, and then to create the turtles, we went, and obviously Donatello, a bit more range, a bit more slower, so we had to balance them out. Obviously Michelangelo, way more quicker, less range obviously, and so that's how we did it. It's kind of a simple answer to this. However, there's really small intricacies with all the moveset, because every character has like very different movesets, and it's in those like small details, animations, and just how like, it's just like the game designers, like they're really good at just tweaking a couple frames to make like an animation way more snappy or way more crisp. So that's how, Michelangelo and April, for example. April is very quick. She's a very quick character to play with. She's really crisp. She can land and just like chain combos really easily. So that's, and that was really fine-tuned, like a tuner car, like somebody that will work on his, Honda Civic or, so it was like very, there was a lot of care that was done into this. Same for Splinter. Splinter is a character that's obviously way more calm. He's the master. He's supposed to be calm and, to be Zen-like. So, but he needed to feel powerful. So his attacks feel, there's that punch and that grit to those attacks. And also when he hits, he's the only, maybe I'm spoiling something here, but he's the only one that creates sort of a small stun. So if when Splinter hits a Foot Clan, there's going to be a small, just a couple frames it's going to create sort of a stun effect on the enemy. And since he's that slow, that stun effect will permit the character to chain some combos on this. So despite being the slowest one, the fact that he's so much powerful and he has that ability to just like stun in sort of a way, because it's not really a stun effect, but when you play it, and if you're a game designer, I guess you can pick up on it, but you'll see that, the character were balanced and were game designed around just like building like a fun experience, and every character have their different feel. And that was an objective that game designers like Jonathan Aving, Frédéric Gému had, is to have their personality, like every character needed to feel different in their gameplay and obviously in their animation. So animation is one thing, but now applying those animation and making them feel different, that was like a big challenge. And in the end, when we go back and we play with Casey, the internet went, he's way too powerful, blah blah blah, but he's an unlockable character, and we've put a lot of effort in making like all his animations like very cool. So I mean, yes, he's powerful, but it's also kind of a treat, and people were requesting Casey so much, so it needed to feel like, a treasure you were unlocking. So yes, Casey is quite powerful, but, that's, it goes with his mythos, how, mythical he is. And throughout all the game design process, everybody had fun, and just like was the Tribute Game staff was like, as fans, always in a situation where they could express themselves through the game. And, all of us are fans of the Turtles, so. If there was an opportunity to put an Easter egg or to have a reference, we'd take that opportunity. We wanted to make that game as much as possible a love fest. So we wanted to cram as much in as possible. In the background art, I was looking at my colleagues just playing the game, and I did see all the background, because all the background, the level backgrounds are like original art. There's no tiles, so everything is hand drawn, pixel by pixel, and very few like assets are reused throughout the stages. So there's a lot of work put into this, and I was looking at some background art while I was watching like colleagues playing a couple of days ago, and I was still like discovering stuff I've never seen in the game yet. So there is so much, and people are discovering references to specific episodes and I guess there's and the game designers even forgot all of those references. And we see a comment online, so hey, is that a reference to this? And we go on our Discord and say, hey, was that intentional? I don't probably, and because we've put in so much that we, in the end, we've. So is everything planned out? No, it's not. And so this is why maybe the game feels like so old school also in a way, and it feels like so visceral and so. Is it a perfect game? No, it's not. But that's exactly what we were going for, like making that classic experience, but making it modern. And if you plan too much ahead, it gets sterile, it gets too clinical and too blocky. And if you want a visceral experience that feels like it was back in the day, we needed to have like sort of a finishing point, like a landing point. We know where we wanted to go. But, if along the way we had an idea or something, or, everybody pitched in. So it was a really organic process. And even if I can, like a small anecdote, I love saying, there was our game designers were trying to find like an animation for April when we were working on April. And everybody was pitching ideas of, the mic drop. So of the victory animation where, at the end, finally, it's the sort of the Obama mic drop where she drops the mic and, just blows the kiss. And that was, not even one of the game designers. It was an idea from our CFO. He pitched that idea. Hey, it could be this. And it was. So finally, it was a family effort. And, along the way, it's just us like being Tribute, doing what we do. And, it was sort of a perfect storm for a lot of those ideas. And we love saying that, all that research for the game, we did it like 25 years ago when we were fans and we were kids. And we grow up with those references, and it was so fun to put all of these into the game. And when we put those references, we put it naturally. And also, obviously, we're paying homage to the arcade game Turtles in Time. But yeah, obviously there's a lot of, we're a fan of video games and like classic beat 'em ups and shmups. And, so for sure, there's a lot of past era, that golden age of video games from the late 80s to early 90s. There's a lot of that transpires and you can find in the game. Like I answered earlier, it was sort of some ideas came really quickly. And for example, Tempestra, there was that video game tie-in that was like, and it's, I guess is she really well known by, the general, the fans in general? I guess not. But, since the tie-in with the video games was so evident, I mean, I know she was mentioned like early on. So our narrative designer, Yannick, he's the one that read, all the comics he could find. He rewatched multiple times all the episodes, and he cherry picked moments and obviously, nemesis and characters and enemies that could make the cut. And they've planned a lot of stages, so there was a lot of room to jam them in. And I think we were never in a situation where we had, obviously, you have Bebop Rocksteady and you have like Shredder Krang, and we had that idea of the sort of the Krang incarnation, like the statue, for example, the Statue of Tyranny. So that was like a big lead up, and that was the idea of the storyline where Krang was getting like rebuilt like pieces from pieces and like into the Statue of Tyranny. So, and then, that left us with 9 or 10-ish spots for bosses, and it was really easy to just jam a couple in. I don't think there was a lot of difficulty to find, because we had a lot of ideas and a lot of references to choose from before we started the process, the game design process. Though in pre-prod, everything was already chosen, obviously, all the levels. So we knew where we were going, obviously, but it wasn't difficult, like cherry picking, because there was so many of them. Well, we cannot please everybody, and we tried thinking of every fan. We didn't want to please only the elite. We wanted to make sure, and that was also on Dotemu's end, because we were on the side of the elite sometimes say, oh, we should go there, we should do, go and do like those very deep references. And Dotemu said, guys, like, calm down, like, let's make this one family friendly, let's make this like for everyone, like, just don't go too deep in the lore. All right. So, and they steered us back, like, and where we needed to go, guys, follow your brief. So we're glad we did, because it's an important license, it's an important IP, and we needed to have like a clear direction of what we needed to do, and appealing to the elite and just like the super fans. It won't serve the game in the end. So it's really important to make something that the casual fans will get. Say, oh, I remember Baxter. So we cannot only please obviously like the elite. But there's a lot for, like, even if you're a toy collector, of like, there's some references for you. They're not like super like big references, but we thought of you in the game for sure. Same for like the comic books. Same if you're a fan of, let's say, Turtles in Time. There's clear references to Turtles in Time. They're nods and sometimes puns, or just like in the achievements and the name of the stages. Even the ones complaining, I'm sure they're really pleased with the game. That was in our original brief. Character design, so everything had to be based. We wanted ourselves to go and pay homage to the 87 cartoon. And we didn't want the artistic direction to go too broad and now to like dip into something that was not the original cartoon. We wanted to have a concise like vision for the art. It's hard for me to say, because that was mostly obviously on Dotemu's side of like the business affairs thing. We had to be careful on, obviously we had the rights to, we went and got the rights, for example, to the classic team, the theme song. So Nickelodeon was not, for example, like owner of that track. So we had to go and clear publishing for that track. So that's something we really wanted. And we had the rights to sort of all the storyline of the 87 cartoon, because that was our pitch. And that was owned by Nickelodeon. And that's in, sort of the canvas we were working with. Going outside of the canvas was also, it implied like more emails, more things. And it would have been possible, I guess, but it wasn't planned. It wasn't our plan anyway to go. We still wanted to create something original. And that's why going with T, he did such an amazing job on Sonic Mania. He did work with Dotemu already on Streets of Rage. Us, when we pitched the game, the idea was to have all those references and like those nods. T did the same thing also. So that was his plan, to create original songs and have musical references to when the cartoon was going to commercial, and like how he chose the instruments, and he made it really 90s, like really like radical, like but he did a really good job. And I think what we did as Tribute Game, like visually, he did it musically. So, and that's why the tie-in's so perfect, I think. The comparison, like it's easily made, because there's that tie-in with Dotemu. However, the games are really different. There are two big IPs from the 90s. They're both beat 'em ups, but I think that's where we draw the line, because Streets of Rage is really more sort of a linear and more of a one-on-one beat 'em up, compared to TMNT, where it's more about like crowd control. And you if you play multiplayer, you're on your side of the screen and you have to manage your side of the screen, and there's like a lot of enemies going at you. So it's more of a like a fun arcade vibe, obviously, than Streets of Rage. but they're two very different experiences for sure. So yeah, we really love saying that, TMNT like is the perfect like beat 'em up / party game when we were like in the early process, and looking at the 4-player gameplay, it was already chaotic and really fun, and seeing like the mechanics and the environment, and since the side of the screens are collisions, now you can like combo off the side of the screen when you're fighting like foot soldiers. Playing and doing that experience now, 6-player, it brought the chaos to a whole new level, and it made the game like totally different experience. So yes, when you're playing like 1 player, you have a much more linear or much more classic approach, maybe like closer to Streets of Rage 4. However, when you're playing like 4 players, 5 or 6, when there's 6 like playable characters on screen fighting like waves and waves of Foot Clan, the experience is a lot different. They're both beat 'em ups, but they're different. That's for sure. Well, it depends right now, and I'm hearing the sub questions say, "Is there a DLC coming out?" People are requesting DLCs. We want more levels. We want more bosses. We want more playable characters. So all of this, just Casey, for example, Casey wasn't planned from the get-go. So adding Casey was an idea, and it wasn't set in stone when we started the whole production process. Reason is, adding Casey adds hundreds and hundreds of hours of animations. Adding a character is a lot of work, and if you add a character, it can create like more bugs. It opens like cans of worms for a bunch of things, and all of that, it will impact the project. It will impact the release date. We had to juggle with this, and the plan also is to get the game out, in a timely fashion, to want to please the fans, to make sure that all parties are happy with the project. We cannot work on a beat 'em up for more than, it took us 2 years from A to Z to get the game out. So if we thought of adding more and more and more, the game wouldn't be finished today. So it's all about like choosing what do we absolutely want in the game, what can we put aside. Now DLC, it all depends on what in the end is like the decisions that are made. Right now we're not in a position where the game has been released. It's not even 2 weeks now and it's too early to it's successful for sure. We didn't announce any numbers yet. We're not ready yet to announce anything. When we'll be able to assess how the project is doing with all parties, because it's not us to decide. It's in the end, it's to dotemu, it's obviously to Nickelodeon, and there's probably even more people involved higher up, to say I will greenlit this, or even offer us the possibility to do a DLC. Would Tribute be interested in doing a DLC, or like working again for that project? I mean, yes, for sure. But right now it's really too early to say. And timeline, it all depends on on what would be chosen if we had that opportunity. Fred, Jonathan, Jean-Francois, they're all like really, really talented game designers, but they are fans, they are gamers, and sometimes when we're a smaller developer, it's really hard to get perspective. So one thing we learned from like doing like Panzer Paladin, for example, and then like working on TMNT, was to maybe like minimize frustration. Make sure the gameplay experience, it's easy to understand the mechanics, and how to quickly, explain some game concepts throughout the game without having like a tutorial that's too heavy. Obviously, we learned a lot from all the past games, even like Steel Assault that we didn't develop, but we helped publish. And even on the level, on the difficulty balancing, we learned a lot on on these projects. And I think one thing that really transpired from our previous project is just how to make a retro experience but modern, and just like eliminating and removing frustrations and making sure that the experience feels more like how we remember it than it was actually. Because way back, games were difficult. TMNT, for example, you had to spend health to do your specials, and that's some as a clear example, that's something we wanted to remove from Shredder's Revenge, and to make sure that when you're using your specials, it's only gratifying, it's only positive. So it's so if you do a bunch of combos, you'll be able to do more special. You'll not be spending your health, your HP. And that's not just from our past games or from our past experiences, but that's from dotemu. They say, but even more, if you're not good enough to do a bunch of combos to have your special, how can I make a special? And that's when we thought, oh, let's do a taunt. So if you taunt and you pick a spot where you won't be bothered, it will fill up your special power bar, your ninja power bar, and you'll be able to do a special. So it's all about making things democratic, fun for everyone. When your mission is to make retro experiences but modern, so you learn from that, and the objective is to make it fun for everyone, despite being we didn't want to make the experience retro hard. We wanted to make the experience fun for everyone in a retro setting. So I think we reached that objective. I'm glad the critics and the fans are happy.